Welcome into Before Floor here on the Five Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Biscayne Bay Brewing. Ask for it at your favorite restaurant. Ask for it at your favorite convenience store. Just ask for it. Get the Tropical Bay IPA. You can also get that at the arena if you're going down to the arena tonight, where we've got our Alex Toledo, also sponsored by our friend Lynette, insurancebyLynette.com. Make sure that you check her out as well, 954-581-8800, 954-581-8800. She's at A Aggressive Insurance Agency. All right, let's get right to it here, guys. Again, Lynette is a frequent commenter here. She has thoughts on this stuff as well. It's one of the reasons we recommend her. She's a Heat fan. The Heat go into this game, I think, in a weird place. They're coming off a win, but it was not the kind of win that makes you feel good about the process because they didn't close the game very strong. Now they're playing a Chicago team that they did struggle with in the fourth quarter. Now the Bulls have been here at South Beach for a couple nights, and they don't really seem to have a hell of a lot to play for. So maybe that helps here a little bit. But, Greg, the significance of just following this up with a stronger performance, not just the first half, but throughout.
I think it matters. I know a win will be a win. Like there'll be there's an element of that we can't escape, but they got to close out better. They got to play better. And it's a tough task when you think that Kendrick Nunn's out now. Like essentially you're plugging in Goran for that production, and K Nunn has been very productive recently. And you're going to need another repeat Duncan performance. I mean, just to beat them by 5 last game, Jimmy had to go over 20. Bam had to go over 20. Duncan had to hit 7 threes. So, like, here we go again. Let's do it.
Let's go to Brady next. We'll go to Ricky after that. Brady, who's in? Who's out? Iguodala out?
Yeah, no Andre Iguodala, no Tyler Hero, and no Kendrick Nunn, and obviously no Victor Oladipo again. So this definitely will be an interesting one. It just once again means the two-way guys are going to have to step in, which is interesting at this point in the season when thing fighting to not be in a play-in spot.
Yeah, and Jonathan, I feel like the Heat are trying to skate by against some of these teams with as little material as they possibly have, right, to save this for the stretch. It feels dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, although these games are, games against teams that aren't the best teams out there, we're still coming way too close to losing to these teams, and there's other times where we're actually losing to these teams. So regardless of who we're playing in the competition, it's shown season-wide that we play down to our competition and we play up to our competition. So I think it's a must-win no matter what, because right now we're tied with Boston, and if we need to get out of the play-ins, we're going to need to get these wins now.
Where did Ricky go? He just disappeared? He was offended by whatever it is that I said?
He will be here in 1 second. Boom.
Okay, we'll go back to Ricky now. All right, Ricky. There's Ricky.
Hello.
Ricky's celebrating another Knicks victory. Ricky, actually, the Knicks have a big one against Phoenix tonight, which will tell us a lot about them. But I do feel like we need to learn more about the Heat at this stage. I was having a conversation with Ira today about this team and this Eric Spoelstra coaching job. We kind of ranked every season since 2008, 2009. This would go sort of bottom tier for me. I've made the point that we're going to decide on how good the coach he is. We know how good a coach he is, but how successful a season he had as a coach, basically from this point forward. Right? Can he get this team to a good position, and then can they actually follow up and do something in the playoffs? I think Ricky's still frozen. So yep. I'll go to you on this, Greg. Your thoughts? I mean, is this a little bit of a referendum on this season?
I mean, this is the thing. If they can pull it together and make a viable playoff run, and even if they were to push a team and get to a 7th game in the second round, for instance, like I think ultimately you would look back and say Spo did the best with what he had to work with if that's how they finished out. I know a lot of people want Eastern Conference Finals and stuff like that, but it's essentially like I think all will be forgiven if they can make a run, because they've kind of acted as if it's just going to be like once we get to the playoffs, we're going to turn this on. So, okay, it's show me time.
Jonathan, I mean, and we look at the playoff situation. They don't have a great shot at the 4 now. They lose the division situation now to Atlanta. They lose the tiebreaker situation. It almost feels like it's coming down to Boston. They can't afford another loss like they've had recently against a team like Chicago.
No, because, I mean, you look at the Hawks, regardless of they have Trae Young or not, they're playing decent ball right now. The Knicks, like we said, 9 or 10 games in a row, and they're on fire right now. Boston has the talent, at least, to be dangerous. So for us to stay out of the play-in, we need to show that we're better than these teams, and these games just can't be games that fall to the wayside now, especially with less than 10, 15 games to go in the season. We need to capitalize on every single game, because if not, and we lose one of those tiebreakers, then we're done. And if we go into playoffs, it's not only going to hurt us because we're going to have to play that extra week and have Jimmy and Bam play those extra hard minutes. There's a real opportunity that a guy like Bradley Beal or another star on another team that just goes off for 2 games in a row, and then that just like that, we're out of the playoffs. And that's it.
It's a dangerous game to play, and I think you don't want. I think that all of those teams will be playing more freely than Miami. Miami being the finals, Eastern Conference, kind of defending champs situation. Like everyone knows they don't want to be cornered in that position, and I'm interested to hear from you guys. As I looked at last box score, there wasn't really the random scrub heat killer in terms of like Kobe White is not a scrub. He was a first round pick, ahead of Hero or where. Yeah. And Vooch is Vooch. He always does what he does against the Heat. Do you guys predict that any of these guys jump off the page tonight and do anything that we don't expect? A name maybe that we didn't see last game that is going to come off, like Garrett Temple, maybe?
Maybe a Garrett Temple.
Didn't Brady predict Satoransky last time? I could probably see that going this time.
Yeah.
Or a bounce back Denzel Valentine game after everybody's been down on him. Maybe he had 7 threes.
Oh my God, he was
that unforgivable shot he took.
Social media king. It's getting blamed on Steph Curry now. You can't blame this on Steph Curry. Roll that Christian Cardis comment back if we can. I don't know if we have it. He says, "Give me the Bucks round 1. Let's crush their dreams."
6 seed till we bleed. That's the slogan, y'all.
Oh, Lord. I don't know about that. All right. Well, we're not going to go a hell of a lot longer today because, again, it's the Bulls. It's the second one, and I'm getting texts on a whole bunch of stuff here. 6 seed till we bleed. Let's just go around with the picks. I don't know where the hell Ricky is. To me, the Heat, I think, favored by 6 tonight. I wouldn't give it. I don't know.
Oh, tonight's a blowout, guys.
Oh, jeez.
I'm the shill. You guys know this.
Yeah, go.
I don't know. All right. That's a blowout. Jonathan?
I'd have to agree because, Coach Spo always does better on the second games of the back-to-back, and that we actually got the win on the first game is more rare for us than actually getting that second win. So I think we do better tonight. I think Spo has a good game plan. I think we get it done with whoever we got on the floor.
South Beach flu.
Let's get it.
Yeah, or South Beach. Well, you can't say flu these days. People get sensitive about that. All right, let's go to Brady. You know what I'm saying? The flu doesn't exist or whatever. Brady, go.
Yeah, you mentioned them being only favored by 6, and something interesting to mention is when looking at the clutch numbers, their offense has been absolutely terrible this season. As I was looking at them earlier, they're 28th in field goal percentage, 29th in three-point field goal percentage, dead last in offensive rating, which is basically, meaning in the last 5 minutes of the game, up 5 or down 5. They've just been very bad in that area. So when you're talking about it, if it's a close game in that area, I'd like to see, boost, but obviously without Tyler Hero, without Kendrick Nunn, I don't see any more offense being, in that area. But they've still had a winning record in those games that we mentioned. It was 32 games. They have a winning record. They're 6th in defensive rating in clutch games, which just means they're just, getting down to it on the defensive end. And that's going to have to do with they're going to have to do that again tonight because I don't think they're going to have any more offense. But I do think they win by, probably a single digits, but I do think they get a win.
I kind of want to close in here because I just want to close with Ricky in that pose. I did not steal his router in exchange for a Manscaped package.
Listen, that's what all the Knicks fans are going to look like after this West Coast trip that's coming up, guys. Get ready.
All right, we'll bring Ricky on that. Thanks
You wish. You wish, Greg.
Oh, my
you
God,
wish.
He spoke. I'm out.
Oh, Lord. Am I back? Yeah?
Yeah, you're back. I mean, we can stay with you a little
said,
bit. There you go. Now he's gone.
Evan,
all right.
Are we good now?
No, you're kind of back, but not really. I mean, you're freezing a lot. But thank you for joining us in today's pregame show, Ricky. I don't know what happened to you. I think Ethan did something to your internet. So we'll bring you back sometime soon. Thank you, Ricky, and thank you to all of you. Now let's go listen to the pregame press conference from Eric Spoelstra today, talking about this second game versus the Chicago Bulls in 3 days. Let's go ahead and listen to Eric Spoelstra, and then we'll listen to Billy Donovan.
It's kind of it's not an intentionally obtuse question, but this is your 5th and presumably final time seeing Vucevic this year. Has he always been this good, or has he developed?
He's definitely developed. And when he first got to Orlando, to the player, that he's been this year. He's increased his range, his post up, poise and pace versus a lot of different coverages. I think is unique. He's very skilled. He can. He's really developed as a passer. All of those things, challenge your defense.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll go to Jason Jackson.
Coach, sometimes there are times when you mitigate victory because there's stuff that you can do better, and then there's some times where you just appreciate the fact that you got a W. Where was Saturday somewhere in between those two, or one way or the other?
Yeah, you try to look at things objectively the next day and go through the film. And I think, the most important thing is you have to expect all NBA games to be tough. And regardless if you get up on a team and have a 20-point lead in the first half, there's still 24 long minutes to go. And certainly there's some things we could do better, in the fourth. But there were some great moments, going down the stretch the last 4 minutes of the game. So we'll continue to work at it and try to be better tonight.
Thank you both.
Next, we'll go to Ira Winterman.
Eric, we see the injury report changed on Kendrick, and now it's showing a neck spasm. Was that something from the game, or is that something after the fact?
Probably a little bit of everything. It just stiffened up, though, a lot in the last 2 days.
And are you finding these rests with Goran, are they proving productive for you? I know it's a lot of sort of, touch and go to see how it works out, but are you sort of feeling good about the way that you've spotted rest for both Goran and Andre is providing dividends for your team?
Well, we have to treat, each game as its separate entity. And we're not predetermining. There's just a lot more communication than there's ever been. I think because of it's quite natural, the demands of the schedule, that are different than other seasons. It's not an exact science, but we all feel, on the same page and good about the plan.
Could you also help with the 8-second violation? The NBA said it wasn't a problem. You were pretty specific with us that the referee, Courtney Kirkland, even apologized. Did you hear?
Yeah, he did. Look, enough. We got out of it. There's a deflection that established it in the front court. I feel like I've talked about it enough the last 24 hours.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Okay, thanks.
All right, that was Coach Eric Spoelstra talking about that matchup against the Chicago Bulls and how this game is going to be without Kendrick Nunn and Hero, who will be out tonight. So before we go and listen to Billy Donovan from the Chicago Bulls, let's go ahead and check the shoot around today. This is so you guys. I want to remind you guys, this is a segment that our friends Ariel Atias and Gadiel Cartagena do in their social media accounts and their Twitter accounts, and it's called the Shoot Around. And you guys can also watch it here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. But for all of you that haven't seen it yet, I'm gonna show it to you. It's not almost. Every time it's less than 2 minutes 20 because it has to go in Twitter, and that's the maximum amount that they can do. So let's go ahead and check it out. They do a quick shoot around of what's going on in tonight's matchup. They do it every day before Miami Heat plays that night. So let's go ahead and check it out.
Welcome back to the shoot around. Miami Heat beat the Chicago Bulls on Saturday night, and they've won 4 of their last 5 games. And tonight they play against the Chicago Bulls again without Zach LaVine again. But I don't want to touch on that yet. I want to talk about the starting lineup because Kendrick Nunn has honestly earned his minutes, in my opinion. I think he's been doing a fantastic job, really good as a catch-and-shoot shooter. But if and when Victor Oladipo returns, do you think, Ariel, that Victor Oladipo should be starting or should it be Kendrick Nunn?
I kind of like the idea that when Vic comes back, that he bring him off the bench, let him get back into a rhythm, bring him along slowly. I don't really feel like throwing him into the fire is probably the smartest move. I also really feel like Kendrick Nunn just deserves it, right? Like he's earned that spot. He's shown time and time again that no matter how many times he loses his spot in the rotation, whatever the situation is, like he's always ready to go. He gets right back in there when his name is called and he gets back to producing. I feel like Tyler Hero, Goran Dragic haven't really been giving the Heat what they expect and what they need from those guys so far. So, yeah, I mean, if when Vic comes back, I would cut those guys minutes, bring Vic off the bench, and probably keep Kendrick Nunn in the starting 5.
No, I agree with you. You're speaking my language now. I think Kendrick Nunn as a catch and shoot shooter has been fantastic. I believe around 42% over the last month, which is really, really good. And that's what you need around Jimmy and Bam. And Victor Oladipo, credit to him as a player. He's a fantastic player, but he just doesn't fit that catch and shoot mold. He's a better defender, better playmaker and whatnot. He's a better player, but I think his attributes would fit better on the bench, and he would only not be starting. I think he would still be a closing player for the Heat, which is the more important role in my opinion. But I do think Kendrick Nunn has earned his starting minutes, and I believe he should keep them given the chemistry that they have there. They haven't had much chemistry outside of that. But tonight they play against the Bulls. Ariel, how can the Heat avoid disappointment tonight against the Bulls again?
Just bring it. I mean, stop playing down to the level of your competition. We've been saying this all season. It was a thing last season as well, but it's magnified this year because they haven't performed as well against the good teams either. So take care of business. Zach LaVine's out. You should get this W. You're at home. You need this win. Go out and get your business done.
Simple as that, right? Nothing else to add to it. Hopefully the Heat come out with a win, want to have some momentum. I mean, 5 of the last 6, when you really break it down, it's not that bad. Hopefully they're able to accomplish that. We'll see what happens. Stay tuned for the post.
All right, that was the shoot around, so you guys can check it out every day. The Miami Heat plays. They do it early. They probably post it around between 8 and 10 a.m. So that day you can check it out and see if you like it. I mean, I think it's a pretty fun segment they do, and hopefully they turn that into a show. And by the way, they do have a show. It's not the shoot around. It's called Full Court Press, and it's going to be coming soon. They just told me, Gadiel just sent me a message saying they're going to be talking mostly about the Knicks and the Clippers and all these battles going into the playoffs that are going out right now in the NBA. So continuing with our pregame show today with the Miami Heat and the Chicago Bulls facing each other for the second time in 3 nights. Let's go ahead and now listen to the Chicago Bulls coach, Billy Donovan, about this second matchup against the Miami Heat.
And let people in. We'll get going.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you, right?
Good.
Just wanted to ask you about Kobe White and the way he's really stepped up with Zach LaVine out. Seems like he's really maturing a lot in his second year. What have you seen from him, even from the beginning of the season to now that he's brought your team? Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. I think John continues to get better. Certainly starting the year as a full-time point guard and then kind of coming out of the starting lineup, coming in off the bench. He is he's just gotten better. And the thing I've always said this about him, I admire about him, is he's got a good perseverance and will to him, and he's a good fighter. When things are not going well for him, he's going to come back and respond. But I do think he continues to get better and he improves. And certainly since Zach's been out, he's played very, very well for us.
Tim Reynolds, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Billy.
Hey, Tim.
Vooch has had 4 really good games against Miami this year, and Bam Adebayo is a pretty good defender. Is Vooch still – I might be wrong. He just seems like he's a guy that somehow still remains below the radar. Do you kind of feel that same way about him? That he doesn't.
I would probably say from a coaching perspective, I don't think anybody in the league feels that way about him. I think anytime you're preparing, to play against him, at least when he was in Orlando, it's just a tough cover, just because of his skill set. At 7 feet, he shoots threes and he can play this back to the basket and he can post and he can make mid-range jump shots. So, he maybe doesn't get a lot of maybe the fanfare maybe that other guys get. But I think if you talk to players and you talk to coaches around the league, I think that they would have a high opinion of Vooch and just what he's been able to do throughout his career.
Thanks, Billy. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Jamal, go ahead.
Hey, Billy, obviously you guys are still without Zach here for a little bit. I'm just kind of curious, have you learned anything about your team in this stretch without, sort of an important player like him, or do you sort of, can you not take anything away from it, I guess, when you don't have such a big piece there? Do you feel like you've learned stuff?
Yeah, I think one of the things, Jamal, we've tried to talk about, and I think I mentioned this when Zach went out, that it wasn't going to be one person that was going to necessarily pick up his scoring, right? But I think what's happened with the team, which has been positive, and it was good when Zach was there too, so I don't want to say that it wasn't, but I think the one thing we had talked about is that we're all going to have to do it collectively. We'll have to do it together. One of the things I really try to monitor and keep a close look at is, our potential assists. And that's just, how many shots are we creating, off of catch and shoot situations. And a lot of times those situations happen through ball movement. And our numbers have been really good. They've been really good. We maybe haven't shot the ball particularly well all the time, but I feel like Vooch is an unselfish player from the post. So is Thad. The guys in the perimeter will move the basketball as well. And I think for us, just generating good shots is important. We had a tough go of it, I think, in the first half the other night against Miami, and we were better offensively, I think, in the second half in terms of shooting the basketball. But, I think if we can move and generate good shots, that's been good. But I think, with Zach being out, I think that the thing you realize is that, there's not maybe a lot of guys. You can throw it to Vooch and he can create from the post, but like in terms of a creator, a playmaker, a scorer at the level of Zach, we really don't have that. So we've got to do it together. And I think those guys have done a good job trying to play off one another.
Thanks.
Yep.
Chuck, go ahead.
Okay, Tim. Coach, how are you? So this is not X's and O's related, but it's Bill Weddington's birthday.
Oh,
and
okay.
so here's the story. 84-85 season. It's your sophomore year at Providence under Joe Mulaney. And Bill and St. John's, they're ranked #1 in the country. March 2nd, Providence goes into the Garden, and St. John's ranked #1. You lose that game. You play them 5 days later in the Big East tournament, and you get beat again. And as we know, 3 teams go to the Final Four, the celebrated game, Villanova and Georgetown. What did you learn about St. John's that year, even though they didn't win the whole thing, and about that ball club with Bill and Mark Jackson and Walter Berry and so on and so forth?
Well, all those guys, we basically played against Bill's teams in high school. I mean, he was obviously a terrific player. At Long Island Lutheran, they were a really, really strong basketball power there. There was a lot of great players that had come out of, Long Island Lutheran. And then obviously going on to St. John's, being a sophomore in college, the league was so good. Mark and I got out of high school, Jackson and I got out of high school at the same time. We played against each other quite a bit to go to, we played quite a bit, but actually we ended up in the Catholic school league. It always came down to us and Bishop Loughlin. So my junior year, we beat them to go to the state tournament and, play in the state finals. And then my senior year, Mark and those guys beat us. So Bishop Loughlin was into the school where Mark went. But, back then, Pearl Washington and Kenny Smith, Walter Berry and Chris Mullen, Bill Winnington, all those guys, the league, probably the Big East, that was probably the real height of the league at that point in time and the level of talent. And plus back then, all these guys stayed 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a guy like Patrick Ewings at Georgetown, he stayed 4 years. All these guys stayed, and it's totally different in college now. But back then, once a guy signed at a particular school, you had to deal with him for 4 years. And most of the guys, like I said, completed all their eligibility. And then obviously a lot of them went on and had great professional careers.
Jeff, go ahead.
Hey, Billy, I wanted to, and I apologize if this has been asked previously, and what are some of the tangible benefits or potential benefits your team is getting from the competitiveness that the playing game generates? Are you seeing those benefits? And, is it possible it helps you, beyond this season as well?
Yeah, and I hope so, Jeff. One of the things that was probably a lot different for these guys and even for the league, I think, if you go back a year ago, we were sitting around at this point in time wondering if we'd ever get back to playing. And then when they did make the decision to go into the bubble, these guys and a lot of other teams never got the chance to go into the bubble, right? And they had a little mini camp, later in the summer in Chicago. But, at that point in time, there was really like no meaningful games for a lot of the guys to play in. And now we're in a situation that, we're fighting to try to get into, some kind of postseason, where we can get to, those games. So I think those guys understand. I think it's good and it's healthy, for guys to be in those situations where you're having to battle and fight and compete for something because, Miami's doing the same thing right now with their seeding, with where they're at. We're doing it. Washington's doing it. So you've got a lot of teams right now that are vying coming down the stretch here. And I think it's healthy and good pressure to have to play under that and play together and to play well in those situations.
Thank you, Billy.
You're welcome.
All right, Coach, that's all we have for now. We'll see you after the game.
All
Thank you,
right,
everybody.
that was Billy Donovan talking about the second game of this mini series against the Miami Heat. Two games. The Heat won the first one 101-96, and now we're gonna watch the second one tonight, starting around 8 p.m. here soon. So let's go ahead now and listen to the Miami Heat players. We went ahead and listened to both of the coaches, and now let's listen to what some of the players had to say after that particular win against the Chicago Bulls. And let's start with Jimmy Butler. Let's go ahead and listen to Jimmy. Here we go.
All right, Jimmy, we'll get started with Ira Winterman.
Yeah, come on.
Jimmy, there was a point there where it seemed Coach wanted to give you a little longer rest, called 2 quick timeouts after they got the game down, I think within 4, and rushed you back in. At that moment, when you went back in and 24 had dwindled to that, what was your mindset as far as how to close it out?
Just win. That's what it is, help get some stops, get shots on goal, but at the end of the day, no matter how bad it gets, just make sure we got more points than they do at the end of the game.
And when Bam talked about you guys getting together, was this sort of a collective thought of not again, especially after what happened last night in Atlanta?
I mean, I don't think it got too much to do with last night in Atlanta. It's a new day, new game, new team. It's about that. Let it go, move on. Just had a little bit of a lapse. We won, so I'm not complaining though.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll go to Cooper Moorhead.
Jimmy mentioned it last night, just how important it is for this team to make sure the defense is dictating the offense. I know when you came back in the game in the fourth quarter, you were being aggressive and getting to the rim, but was the important part about turning the thing around is that you guys started getting steals and deflections and stops on the other end?
Most definitely. I think that sets you up for some easy buckets in transition, getting guys open shots. It confuses their defense a little bit. But like I said, it's always going to be defense first for us. At least it should be. And if we play like that, we build leads like we did. And when we don't, we lose leads.
Next we go to Tim Reynolds.
Jimmy Duncan had the great start, making the 6 threes in the first half, and I think his first 4. Kendrick took a really big one, I think, after one of Valentine's threes in the fourth quarter. How much do you like that from your guys, that Duncan, after a couple of rough nights, comes out firing, and Kendrick, has the courage to take, big shots with the game on the line in the fourth quarter?
That's what they do. But I'll be the first to tell you that I could care less if they make shots. I think they were so locked in on the defensive end and knowing their play calls, being in the right positioning, switching at the right time, knowing all of our schemes. That's what I pay more attention to. They're going to make shots. And everybody knows that you're going to have nights where you can't miss, and then you're going to have nights when you can't make. But making or missing, I just want you to be locked in on the defensive end. That's it. And I felt like they definitely did that tonight.
Thank you, Jimmy.
All right, next we go to Christos Saltas.
Hey Jimmy, what was the main improvements on your game tonight, and how important is to maintain the effort, especially of your first half?
I think the main improvement was just a little bit more physical, turn them over a little bit more, and we were into their bodies. They weren't throwing the ball exactly where they wanted to throw it, and that's how we have to play. We just got to be a team that gets it out the mud. Low scoring game, obviously. It got up there a little bit in the fourth quarter, but make it a slugfest. We like those. That's our best chance to win.
And next we'll go to Brady Hawk.
Hey, Jimmy. When looking at Bam's defensive impact every night, it seems like his defensive player of the year chances are rising. How much do you notice his switching, just making teams uncomfortable every night? And what do you think that says about his case for the defensive player of the year?
I mean, I don't get to vote for him for defensive player of the year, so can't say nothing about that. But I know he loves and he takes the challenge of being able to guard whoever in this league, and he's actually really good at it. I'm pretty sure somewhere the statistics say that he's really good at it. But around here, we know that he's really good at it, and it's not always he's getting a stop or a block or something like that. It's tough to have to be in a spot and help and then close somebody out and then be able to guard them. Like, I think that's what people really overlook, and how he's everywhere for us on the defensive end of the floor. And he never complains. I think more than anything, he never complains, and he wants that matchup.
Next, we'll go to Barry Jackson.
Jimmy, do you admire what Kendrick has done, going from, not playing to now playing again at a high level? He's done that a few times. And has he improved his game in your mind from the guy who started so well last year? Is he even a better player now?
I think so. But that's what pros do. You stay ready. Your time's going to be called sooner or later. I don't want anybody to ever get injured, but they happen. And he has stepped right back into the role that he had, and he's performed extremely well for us. He's learning all the right reads. He's taking all the right shots. And like I said, when the kid's locked in on defense, he's a player that you really, really, really got to pay attention to then.
All right, Jimmy, thank you. Appreciate it.
Dominoes for me, man.
All right, that was Jimmy Butler a couple of nights ago when the Miami Heat beat the Chicago Bulls 101-96. Let's continue with our pregame show. We're waiting for the Miami Heat to put out their starting lineup tonight. Should be the same as we have seen in the past couple of games. Hopefully that's the case. Just to make sure you guys notice this report that we have here, Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn will be both out of tonight's game. So that's two less players that we're going to have tonight. Let's go ahead and continue here with our pregame show. Let's see who's next. We're probably going to listen from Bam Adebayo. Bam, one of the players that had 20 or more points against the Chicago Bulls
Their
on
comeback
Friday.
is if you and Jimmy just said enough is enough. This is
On
not
Saturday.
happening again. Was there sort of a mindset that when it got to 3, not after Atlanta last night and not after being up 24 in this one?
We cursed each other out in the huddle.
Yeah. All right, that's it, man.
I get up out of here, Jimmy. You got me.
Please, I'm trying to go home.
Man,
I got a long night of dominoes ahead.
I got a long night of sleep.
You need to stop playing with this, man. That's the second straight.
Okay, to rephrase, you said you cursed each other out in the huddle. Can you take us through that situation or?
I'm being nosy, man. Next question. That's between me and Bam. Y'all always trying to get in on something.
Man, I was about to say, man, no.
Okay. Can you, in general terms, without getting specifically personal, talk about the emotion of that moment when 24-point lead got down to 3 and what you and Jimmy and the rest of the team thought had to happen next?
We had to win the game. You know, it's you never wanted one of those like last night, let one of those slip.
Thanks, man.
Up next, we go to Tim Reynolds.
What up, Tim?
Hey, Bam. Style points never really count for anything. And does it matter at all? I mean, was this just one of those nights where you had, whether it was by 1 or by 40, it didn't matter how you got this win? Or was this just one of those?
You know, we don't care if we won by half a point. As long as it's a W at the end of the day, nobody really cares.
And I know always around here, it's always going to be defense first, but you know, they played D pretty well tonight, and you guys had 4 guys score 20. First time I think all year. Is how big of a deal is that for you guys?
It was just all 4 clicking, you know, on all cylinders. And we was doing a great job of being aggressive, sharing the ball to one another, you know, just making plays.
Thanks, man.
Next, we go to Cooper Moorhead.
Hey, Bam. When the offense hit, you know, another bit of a rut in the second half tonight, what was the difference between tonight and last night as far as being able to kind of get the offense back on track and turn it around?
Dudes was making plays on the stretch, and dudes was making plays on the stretch, and that was pretty much the game. And, you know, we was making plays after plays after plays, and also getting stops.
All right, thanks, Bam.
Black Lives.
All right, that was Bam Adebayo also talking about that match, that game against the Chicago Bulls a couple of nights ago. 101-96, that was the win but for the Miami Heat. This is a starting 5 for tonight. Goran Dragic gets back to the starting 5 along with Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Trevor Ariza, and Bam Adebayo. So Goran Dragic is coming back to the starting lineup with Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Trevor Ariza, and Bam Adebayo. Lastly, before we go and get everything set up, get our Biscayne Bay and everything to watch the game, we're going to listen to our friend Duncan Robinson talking about this particular game against the Chicago
score
Bulls.
this year on a bunch of cuts to the basket with Bam on the other end of many of those. We saw it obviously late in the game tonight. How important is it to do things like that late in the game with as tough as it is to score late in ball games?
Yeah, you know, those can be big relief baskets for us. Obviously, Bam is super dynamic.
and Jimmy in that kind of mid post area. So, it's on us to be creative, set screens, get each other open, and make timely cuts and plays. So it was good to get that one. Obviously, we went through a little scoring drought. Jimmy and Bam were kind of carrying us there at the end, but it was nice to get that kind of relief one, I guess.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Tim Reynolds.
Hey, Duncan. Happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
How angst-laden were those last couple minutes? I know you're in the moment, so you're trying to win a game, but you're also human, and I'm sure a lot of those, oh, bleep, here we go thoughts were probably going through your mind at that point.
A little bit, not too much. I think we were all pretty locked in. Just it was very concise, very direct. We were all just on the same page of like, what, we're in this point. We just have to win this game. We have to find a way to win this game. And, at the end of the day, obviously, you want to, if you have a lead like that, protect it and be able to win going away. But, W is a W. So we'll take it, certainly. Everything we're trying to do isn't going to be easy. And tonight was just another reminder of that.
It sounds silly to ask you about confidence after what you've been able to do the last 2 years, but was there a little part of you that needed another night like this just to sort of get that good feeling back again?
Yeah. Anytime you can see shots going like that first half is nice, obviously. Definitely something to build on. Disappointed in the second half. Felt like I had a couple great looks, ones I'd like to have back, but that's how the game goes. You can't control that always. But yeah, it's always nice to see it going.
Thanks, Don.
Yep.
Up next, we'll go to Anthony Chang.
Hey, Duncan, to go off of Tim's question there, no one needs to tell you to be aggressive anymore, but you've had a season high with 15 threes tonight. Was it something with the way they were playing you, or was it someone tell you something before the game as far as what led to that aggressive performance tonight?
When you have it going early like that, start 4 for 4, whatever it was, I thought my teammates did a great job of just continuing to seek me out. And, I just try to let it fly. Sometimes when you have it like that, you just feel like everything's going in. Obviously, that wasn't the case in the second half. But, a lot of times if I'm still just being that aggressive, I think it helps us. Just got to continue to try to do that. Obviously, it's not going to be 15 attempts every night, but occasionally here and there might have somewhere I'm able to get them off.
Thanks, Duncan.
Yeah.
Next, we'll go to Brady Hawk.
Hey, Duncan. Even though you were being covered in a similar way as usual, it seemed like you were flowing into dribble handoffs a lot easier early on. Did you notice that at all? And how much does that change things for you when you're given those type of opportunities?
It's not as much dribble handoffs anymore. It's more. I'll still get them every now and then. Teams do a pretty good job of limiting that. It's more ball screen stuff, which I've gotten more and more comfortable with. At first, it was an adjustment, but I'm getting there. I'm starting to get more and more comfortable. So it's been a good adjustment, and it's been a good challenge. It's been the staff and my teammates have challenged me to wrap my mind around that, and then I gotta figure out a new way to get shots, get looks. So it's been fun.
Next, we'll go to Christos Saltas.
Hey, Duncan. First of all, it's Messi's jersey.
What's up? No, it's just a blank jersey.
Okay. Well, almost 24 hours after a tough loss against the Hawks, you bounce back your response tonight. What it means about your character? How important it was to respond and be back on the winning column?
It was huge. We were all on the same page. As much of a must-win as we've had this year. Just with how everything went last night. We knew we needed to bounce back, and however we were going to get it done, didn't matter. Just got to find a way.
Next, we go to Mateo Mayorga.
Hello, Duncan. How much of an impact does Dwayne's ability to pull down offensive rebounds add to this team?
Oh, he's been life off the bench for sure.
Thank you, Duncan.
Sorry, I just got muted. I wasn't not answering your question. He brings life off the bench. He's so physical and the size that he has, and he's just got a knack for the ball. He goes after it, and it's super unselfish. He wants to just be a part of this and get people open and rebound and screen. And he's got great touch around the basket. So he's really been a good addition.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Duncan.
All right, that was Duncan Robinson a couple of nights ago. Again, after that win for the Miami Heat 101-96. That concludes our pregame show for tonight. Again, for all of you that are just getting here and couldn't watch it a couple of minutes ago, this is the starting five for the Miami Heat. Goran Dragic, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Trevor Ariza, and Bam Adebayo. Goran Dragic, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Trevor Ariza, and Bam Adebayo. That's going to be the starting five for the Miami Heat tonight. Again, here in a couple of minutes, we're going to start the live score that we do during every game. So if you guys want to just hang out there, keep sending your comments, talk about what's going on in the game, you're welcome to do so in that particular live streaming. After the game, we're going to have the post-game show, the post-up as usual, just talking about what went on. And remembering the Miami Heat only has 11 games left in the regular season. They're fighting for the 7th spot in the playoffs. Let me show you here the standings real quick before we go. This is how important this game is for the Miami Heat. Let me show you here in a full screen. This is how the standings look right now. Obviously the Nets, Sixers, and Bucks all the way up there. No problems for them to be in the playoffs. Then the Knicks, who have won how many already? 9 in a row. They're in the 4th place along with the Atlanta Hawks right there. And then this group of teams just fighting for the last spot that does not go to the play-in tournament. So there we go. This is an important game. We have also a game on Wednesday against the Spurs, and then weekend, a couple of games that are going to be very important. So here's the Miami Heat. As you can see right now in the 7th place because they lose the tiebreak with the Boston Celtics so far in this season. So very important game for the Miami Heat tonight against the Chicago Bulls, who are down here still fighting to try to get to this last place for the play-in tournament. Remember, the 9th place and the 10th place will play a game, and whoever wins will then get the loser of this particular game between the 7th and the 8th. The Miami Heat is trying to avoid that. The Chicago Bulls are trying to get closer and closer to the Washington Wizards, and that's the how it looks in the Eastern Conference right now. Thank you very much for watching the pregame show, and you're welcome to join us during the live score and also right after the post-up hosted by Royal Shepherd. We're going to be, of course, having fun there and talking about the game once again. Thank you very much. Have a good one. Enjoy the game, and we will see you here in a little bit in our live score, or if not, we'll see you in our post-up hosted by Royal Shepherd. Have a good one, and let's go Heat. Hopefully they win this one, and we are closer and closer to the playoffs.